there.
I gotta believe you see it. Thank you. Obvious head shaking. This is the Wrigley Building. It opened up right after the bridge went in. The first part closest to the river, 1921. The addition to the north, because the business was so successful, 1924. Designed by Graham itself. And the Wrigley Company sold laundry detergent. But with every box of laundry detergent, they gave out a piece of gum. And guess what became the more successful? In glass, that's what you're gonna see, and that's what you see. And you'll notice the very obvious vertical elements, the very obvious horizontal elements. It's lifted up off the ground on what are known as pilotis or stilts, and there's a transparent glass first floor. Take a look right to, and notice that this building could be anywhere. It has no connection to the Chicago River. To the left of it, Apple Michigan Avenue, 2017, Norman Foster. Those walls are 2-inch thick glass. The building is held up by 4 columns. The top looks like the top of an Apple laptop. When the building was being constructed, it had the big Apple logo, the bite out of the apple on the top. You could see it from all the tall buildings around. I think it's not there anymore. Wonderful structure. On the left-hand side, right here before the bridge, is a building that looks like 3 black zippers going up the middle. This is 1928 Halliburton Route 333 North Michigan. It's London House Hotel in 2017, and it was done by Getch Partners. And they did this addition in glass that you'll see on the side of the building. And Getch Partners was not afraid at all to build a totally modern glass-fronted building. Although above the 3rd and 4th floors, and again maybe at the 10th and 11th, there are horizontal pieces that classical architectural features. The next building coming up, take a look at both facades you can see. This building, 2014 Gary Handel, it has a slice through the entire facade on both sides. I hope people see that. This is intended to reflect the slice that the Chicago River makes through the city of Chicago. Great fun, and this is another piece of postmodernism that places this building in this context. This building belongs only on the Chicago River. This section of the Riverwalk to your left here is my favorite section. It's called the River Theater. You are the show. The next building on across the top, they're very loud. Okay, phew. So the 2 towers on this building are paying homage to the bridge houses here along the river that Chicago flag. Between the bridge house towers, there's a bridge. So very much placing cables. Where? Which building? Urn. And that is a feature that Frank Lloyd Wright used often in his architecture. And so that's paying homage to Frank Lloyd Wright, a Chicago architect. Cables. Thank you. Oh, man. All right. Okay, coming up on your left is a building that has a curved facade and, okay, curved facade and green glass. So this is 333 West Wacker. This is Cone Pedersen Fox, who also, by the way, did the one with the 2 towers. It's really sort of wacky reflections are great fun. Now, very quickly, we're going to turn to go up the north branch of the river. There they are. Man, I'm so grateful to you guys. Okay, right in front of you is a building that looks like it has an arch at the top and an arch at the bottom. Everybody see it? Right to the left, like 11 o'clock on a watch face. That's River Point 2017 by Picard Chilton. And those 2 arches, somebody told me it looks like a McDonald's thing, a cold storage warehouse. It housed all of the meat products from the animals that were going to be sent to the stockyards to be processed. And Harry Weiss, a beloved Chicago architect, decided to turn it into condominiums long before this river was the river you see today. It took 6 months to thaw them and porthole windows, and each one of these houses has its own, hello there. I believe that every one of these is owned by the original owners from 1988, except for one that sold several years ago for $2.25 million. So I think their lease was on something.
Wow.
They all have their own elevator, their own dock. They're just, yeah. All right, the next section of the river is a great opportunity for you guys to understand how Chicago viewed its river and views it today, or smell this river. By contrast, on the left side of the boat is Kinsey Park, 2002, a whole collection of townhouses and a skyscraper, Papa George Hames. By now, we're looking out at front yards and a river walk. Chicago was led, some people say ruled, by two up at the roof line and above the first floor. That's called bas-relief sculpture. It's sculpture that's flattened and embedded in the facade. And they sliced out their first floor and gave a river walk to the city. Not required because it wasn't new construction. All right is, you'll see an abandoned parking lot and a Chicago Tribune building. And there's another Chicago Tribune building. All of this is going to be gone very soon because it's all being developed into residential high-rises and the Chicago Bally's Casino.
Wow.
So come back in a few years and all of this will be transformed. And this is a great time to go sing this song. Anybody know that song? Ah, thank you. I sing this song because in 1825, the Erie Canal opened. And what this gave the United States, such as it was at the time, was a clear waterway from Europe, across the Atlantic, up through the New York Harbor, the Hudson River, across the Erie Canal to the 5 Great Lakes. There are 5, and I try and test some Probst and White. Look for the faces, the masks of tragedy and comedy. And this solid wall, this is one wall of the Opera Auditorium. So this was really saying to you, this is what the purpose of this building is. The developers, however, knew that they didn't want to put all their money on the opera, so they built all this office space all around this structure. And it turns out the first production of the opera was Aida, and the stock market crashed the next day. So they were mighty happy to have the office rent, although I don't know how well they did with the rents either. But today it's hard to compete with that. They laid out each tube and the different heights based on wind studies. The prevailing winds coming in from the west, they were laid out such that the wind would come in and wind around the tubes. Oh, you get a nice view of it here with the different heights of the tubes. Now, I do not envy the firm of Cohn Pedersen Fox, who was hired to design this building right in the shadow of the Sears Tower.
Yeah.
This is 311 South Wacker, 1990. But you know what they did? They built the anti-Sears Tower. They are known as the Ledge. And they were added to the Sears Tower in the early 2000s. There's glass. You can go pay a lot of money and stand on top of the ledge and look down 110 stories, down between the railroad tracks, and put very strong columns called caissons. They drilled all the way down to bedrock. The caissons would come up and they'd lay a foundation on top of the caissons, and the buildings would be built on top of those foundations. So almost every building on this left we see in the bridge designs. All right, anybody catch this Y-shaped building on the way down the river? It is eye-catching and an absolutely amazing structure. It's from 2017 by Getch Partners again. And this was the very fancy store.
Yeah.
It's 1930, it's Art Deco. You might see sun catching some of the gold diamonds, and you might see chevrons. Those are very Egyptian. And see these columns with heads on them? Those are heads of famous retailers, Mr. Filene and Mr. Wanamaker and Mr. Marshall Field. They're all misters, by the way. They're minding the shop. And David Letterman came on this tour, and he calls those the Pez Hall of Fame. So they are quite, but once again, so those apartments, folks, are pie-shaped. You get one piece of pie or two pieces of pie. Very hard to put furniture in there, I can assure you. The parking garage, you can see, is parking levels are down below. And the tightrope walker, Nick Wallenda. And coming up on your left is the Trump Tower, International Hotel and Tower. We are going to talk about this building when we get some distance from it, because it's really hard to see right here. It's not hard to see the sign, it's hard to see the building. And I'm going to give you some wonderful details about it. I love this building, I love the design, but I'm going to tell you about it when we get down farther. In the meantime, take a look on the left-hand side, beyond the Wrigley building. Remember our building with Frou-Frou and the clock tower. There's a building that looks like it has a Gothic cathedral on the top. So this is today known as the Tribune Residences. It was the Tribune Tower, built for the Chicago Tribune, and it was designed by Howells and Hood architects out of New York City, who designed Rockefeller Center in New York. Those pieces that look like elbows, like this, are called flying buttresses. Had happened along the Chicago River. The bridge went in 1989. This building, the Sheraton Hotel with the rounded corners, that means it's Solomon Cordwell Benz, Starbucks Reserve Bank. This hotel went in. The next building is the first residential tower that went in here. So we were beginning to play around with the idea of people living down here. And Gellick and Foran did this in 1992, and the base here is the parking garage. And I'm going to tell you that the next building on your left is, I believe, a much more successful solution. Whoops! This is Lake Point Tower, and I can tell you that it got through a loophole in the law because they claimed that they were building a structure for this opening the mouth of the river and the marina that's here. They lied. And this got through. It was far enough along by the time they figured it out. But this is 1968 Lake Point Tower. It was designed by two. That is the Chicago Lock. And that is what makes the ability for ships to go between the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. You go in there and the lock allows the water level to change. It's about 7 feet difference from the river. Our captain, Chris, has stayed here for a minute, so you can just sort of get your bearings here. And the tourist site in the entire city of Chicago and state of Illinois. And true, I cannot tell you why. I don't know why